Thank you for watching. This is for those who want and who can do more. Listen to me, pay attention. You have options in the description below. Pick the one that fits you best. But listen, understand that by you watching from start to finish really pushes my algorithm forward. Like, comment, click. Helps me out a lot. All right, we have a lot to cover today. Okay, I'll tell you a secret. I just ate. I just picked up the kid from daycare. I rushed in here, had a little bit something to eat. So I'm good. Let's go. Okay, listen, I never thought this was going to be possible for Darrell Brooks to lose his #1 spot at the most idiotic person of the entire world and become a #2, or maybe a number 1.5. 1.5. That's not the point. The point is that there's a guy named Bradley Yohn. Bradley Bradley. Pay attention, at least there. And he's an idiot. #1, he's representing himself. #2, he did a horrible, heinous crime. And number three is the crime that I have nightmares about. Home invasion. There is nothing more invasive than being home invaded. Chills. I am eager to dive into this. So, you know what? Forget this intro. Let me give you my legal spiel, because lawsuits are real and you're not going to get me. If you're new here, my name is Alistan Zekio, and this is just my point of view. Let's go.
May it please the court, the defense, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. At 77 years old, Tina Lohman had raised 4 children. She was a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. She ran a successful business with her husband, Tim. But to Tina, what was most important was her family. And on November 9th, 2021, she was looking forward to celebrating the upcoming Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays with her family. She was looking forward to spending those holidays with her husband, her children, her 14 grandchildren, and her 17 great-grandchildren. She had bought the Christmas presents, they were wrapped, they were ready to be placed under the Christmas tree. But Tina Lohman, she wouldn't get to see the joy and the looks of anticipation on the faces of those grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She wouldn't get to hear them say, "Merry Christmas, Grandma," when they showed up at her house to open those presents. She wouldn't get to experience the joy of opening the presents that her husband and children had bought her. Because on November 9th, 2021, she was kidnapped by the defendant, she was robbed by the defendant, and she was brutally and violently sexually by the defendant. The defendant left Tina bruised and battered. He left her bleeding on the floor, stand, emotionally and physically scarred until she would die 33 days later on December 12th, 2021. On November 9th, 2021, Tina was driving home when it was starting to get dark. She started to have car trouble. She must have been so scared, like any woman would be.
Your Honor, I'd object. Grounds? The death has no relevance in this case. You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. She must have been so scared, as any woman would be, driving home at night with car trouble, alone on a dark bottom road, and no one to help her. But then a car started. How do you think she felt? Was she relieved? Did she think she was going to get help? Was she scared? Was something bad about to happen? But she was 77 years old, and this is Quincy. Nothing bad happens in Quincy, right? In Quincy, when you have trouble, people stop, they pull over, and they help you. But instead of a random act of kindness, the defendant and his accomplice showed up. They showed up to commit an act of violence, an act of terror, of rape. Every woman's worst nightmare on a dark bottom road. The defendant forced his way into Tina's car. Tina thought it was about taking money and jewelry from her. She thought the defendant was going to kill her, so she told her she had more stuff back at her house. The defendant's accomplice followed them and her another car. But the defendant was not just satisfied with money or jewelry. The defendant wanted more from this 77-year-old great-grandmother. As the defendant drove Tina's car back toward the house as they were being followed by the accomplice, the defendant reached over, grabbing Tina and forced his penis into her mouth. When they arrived at Tina's house, Tina was able to get away. She was able to run inside, lock the door, while the defendant and the woman with him, his accomplice, were in the garage. But the defendant wasn't done. He wasn't going to let Tina get away. He kicked in the door to her house, breaking down the door, leaving a shoe print, and the nightmare for Tina continued. The defendant stole money and jewelry from inside Tina's house. He pushed her down the stairs, and he tried to get into her basement safe. Then, the defendant bent Tina over a chair in her living room. He shoved his penis into her vagina. He shoved his penis into her mouth. He told her to act like she liked it. And then, when the defendant was finished using Tina's dick, his twisted purposes, he sprayed her mouth and body with carpet cleaner. While the defendant was doing all of these things, robbing her, assaulting her, his accomplice, the woman that was with him, was holding a knife and threatening Tina's life. After the defendant finished robbing Tina of her dignity, he fled. He fled with Tina's purse. He fled with her jewelry. He took her money. He fled with Tina's car. He even took Tina's rosary. Then he went across the river to Hannibal and he played video poker. When Tim Schmidt arrived home, he found Tina on the floor, crying and bleeding, crying that she'd been raped and her body. Next to Tina was the knife that her life had been threatened with. Tim, her husband, gave Tina a knife because Tina was so terrified the defendant and his accomplice were going to come back. Then he called 911. Tim asked Tina to tell him what it was, and she relived that nightmare again as she told him how she had been violated, how she had been robbed, how she had been left bloody and bruised on that floor. For the weeks after her assault, Tina was in pain, both emotional pain and physical pain. She never had the opportunity to recover because on December 12th, 2021, Tina's heart broke. Tina won't be able to take that witness stand. She won't be able to tell you what the defendant and the accomplice did to her. Instead, her husband will tell you what Tina told him that night when he found her crying and bleeding on their living room floor. Tell you about what happened on November 9th, 2021, but you will get to see the photographs that were taken at Blessing Hospital by the nurse, Jacqueline Oglesby. The photographs of Tina's mouth, where the defendant had sprayed her with carpet cleaner. The photographs of Tina's vagina, where the defendant had shoved his penis inside of her. The photographs of Tina's body, showing that she had been left bruised and beaten. Tina won't be able to come here and tell you about the pain. She won't be able to tell you about the humiliation she suffered, but you will get Dr. Ada Kagumba, Tina's doctor, and she'll tell you about the injuries she observed on Tina the week after the defendant had assaulted her. Tina won't be able to come here. She won't be able to look the defendant in the eye and say, "You did this to me." But on that cold, dark November night, one of the reasons Tina was so terrified is she had no idea who the person was that attacked her. She didn't know his name, she didn't know where he had, and she didn't know where he went. But she did know. She knew he had a red beard, and she knew he had her purse, her jewelry. The day after November 9, 2021, on November 10th, 2021, The day after she had been brutally and violently robbed and sexually assaulted, the U.S. Marshals found the defendant in Springfield, Missouri. When they found the defendant in Springfield, Illinois. When they found the defendant in Springfield, the defendant had Tina's purse over his shoulder. Inside that purse were Tina's jewelry, Tina's voter ID card. On the defendant's wrist, Tina's watch. And inside the defendant's pocket was Tina's rosary. On the defendant's feet were a pair of shoes that exactly matched the shoe print left at the scene at Tina's house. And just down the street from where the defendant was found was Tina's car covered in the defendant's fingerprints. And despite efforts to destroy any DNA by spraying carpet cleaner on Tina, there was male DNA found by the Illinois State Police. Male DNA was found on the Depends, the adult diaper that Tina had been wearing that night of November 9th, 2021. DNA that was on Tina's Depends was determined to be 310 times more likely to be the defendant's DNA. The can of carpet cleaner that the defendant had used to spray Tina's mouth and body that was found at the house, that was tested for fingerprints. And the defendant's fingerprint was found on that can of carpet cleaner. What the defendant did on November 9th, 2021 was horrific. It was violent. It was a nightmare. It was something no woman, no 77-year-old grandmother should ever have to experience. What the defendant did to Tina Lohman on November 9th, 2021, it was sick. It was perverted. What he did to Tina Lohman is called home invasion. It's called aggravated kidnapping. Aggravated vehicular hijacking. It's called residential, and it's called aggravated criminal assault. And at the end of this case, called to hold the defendant for what he did to Tina Lohman.
First, let me just acknowledge something about the video. The skips that you hear, it's censorship on the court side. There's nothing, it's not the internet, there's nothing like that. I know it was hard and annoying to listen, but we can all read between the lines. Second thing I want to say, she fought back. She fought back. So, Tina, I don't even know you. You don't even know me. I'm proud of you. You fought back. Now, that is every woman's nightmare. That is every woman's nightmare. Not just the RAP, not just the sexual assault situation. I need a moment. I gotta compose myself 1 second. What I was trying to get as my thought going, because the prosecutor said that there's a woman involved into this. The accomplice was a woman, and that sexual assault situation is a woman's every nightmare. How dare you? I don't know who that woman is. Well, eventually we'll get to her, but how dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Especially as a woman, you know. How dare you? Number two, it's not even enough that he robbed her or whatever. Brutally sexually assaulted, brutally. Sick. He had a flair. He enjoyed it. And let me tell you something else. The fact that he used the carpet cleaner, all that stuff, that means he's done it before. He's done it before. That's his MO. He has sexually assaulted multiple times. To be able to comfortably do it brutally, violently, take the carpet cleaner. First of all, how do you even get the carpet cleaner in someone's house you've never been? So the first thing is, where's your carpet cleaner? Okay, it's over there. All right, right. So the premeditation here is beyond sickening. Sickening. And I hope as this guy gets more notorious, women out there who manage to survive, please come forward and get your justice. Okay? Okay, well, that's all the notes I wrote for this. He had the audacity to say, objection. Grounds. This MF said, there's no her death has no relevancy. Stupid. Relevance. Next segment. Let's listen to what Mr. Bradley has to say.
Any opening statement? Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you just heard were theatrics. Theatrics. Something one puts forth in order to obtain and persuade you to obtain a conviction in a trial. I will concede that some things Ms. Keck here stated do in fact ring true. However, they're not as she stated them. There are many discrepancies in this case that have yet to be finalized. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today this is going to be very hard for all of us. We have people here in the stands. It's going to be extremely hard for them. It's going to be extremely hard for you. It's extremely hard for myself. I'm the one here on these claims. However, these claims are not quite true. And I will show you that today. I apologize for having you awesome people here today. Yes, it's a duty of citizenship to have to serve on a jury every so often. There's not many smiles today. However, I did see some yesterday. I appreciate them smiles. That has brought a light to my soul as I've been stuck here in this county jail, tormented for the last 19 months. I ask that you forgive my appearance. This is not normally me. I normally have hair. I did not expect you to feel sorry for me by any means. I also understand you'd much rather be enjoying your summer at home rather than being in this courtroom.
Okay, first of all, let me tell you something. This guy is a dangerous narcissist monster. Listen, I'm not even going to say alleged. What am I kidding? Loss is so real, allegedly. Listen, first thing right off the bat. As he tries to discredit the prosecution, what does he do? He starts gathering sympathy. Not only is he trying to relate to the jury and say, look, jury. Oh my God. I know it's hard for you to be here. It is hard for all of us. But it's hardest for me because I'm the one being prosecuted. But I understand that you don't want to be here. It's the summer and oh my God. Oh, by the way, don't feel sorry for me because I have no hair. Normally I have hair, but I don't look the best. Who does that? What kind of opening statements in any courtroom, whether professional or unprofessional, who puts focus on their appearance? As if we care. Who cares? What jury cares about how and what you look like? Excuse me. First of all, that's not our brain's not even like that. All we focus about is the crime in question, and then we're looking at you like that. And furthermore, I know you have that little green jumpsuit that tax dollars gave you, okay? But green, orange, whatever the color is, you look well enough to be in court. So shut the F off. But no, he does that for a reason. He does that to connect and sympathize. Because he mentions eyeballs, smiles. Smiles? I saw smiles yesterday. I didn't see any smiles today, but I saw some yesterday. And it lightened my soul. It made me so happy. He's trying to enchant. He's trying to charm. And he is starting a story spin. Oh my God. Do you understand how effective this strategy is? It doesn't work in a court of law. In real life, it's super effective. You have someone who seems nice enough. You have no background of what that person could be. So you're like, okay, tall, red beard, seems to be a nice person. Sure, why not? And that nice person tells you, oh my God, you know, like you had a terrible day. I understand. I had a bad day too, but I totally get it. Right? That person immediately relates to you. Honey, that's disarming. That disarms you. And then right off the bat, tells you, oh, look, you know, like I know I look like crap, but, you know, I'm sorry. I don't normally look like that. It disarms you further. From what? Suspicion. Suspicion. It makes him look normal. It makes him look relatable. Please. Listen, I can tell you right now, if you live with a father like mine, absolutely torture, I can smell a narcissist from 1,000 miles away. Matter of fact, I don't have any narcissists in my life because they don't get that far. They don't get that far. So I see where this is going. He is spinning a story. And a lot of the time when narcissists start to demand something, it always starts sweet and honey. And then when you're disarmed, then they go in and literally stab you in the back. What is he going to ask? I wonder. I'm innocent? Okay. All right. And by the way, on a very funny note, when he was discrediting the prosecution, that prosecutor faces was literally all of our faces. He's like, discrepancies. That's not the case. You don't have all the facts. That was literally all our faces. So girl, I like you. I like you a lot. And also, last point, when he mentioned you'd rather be having fun in your summer, no, mister, I got to tell you something. For a person like you, no, I canceled my summer plans so I could put you to jail. Have a seat.
However, the powers that compel have brought you here today. I once heard that trials are based on persuasion. Who has the best persuasion in their words? Who can be persuaded by the persuadee? Words like persuasion, I believe they're negative myself. They're kind of like manipulation, very negative. It's negative in my insight to persuade somebody, especially when you want to persuade somebody as to the charges here today and not have the proof needed to present those theatrics and not have the proof needed to present those theatrics. To persuade one's life away, as Ms. Keck stated, the sick in herself. If they were to truly happen, they're sick, they're demented, they're horrendous, horrid. Persuasion, I see that in the same sense as to persuade something that is not true is also sick. These are demented crimes. Ladies and gents, I'm more in agreement with the word logical. To be logical seems to be more so valuable than to persuade some. Also, the meaning of logical, to expect because of what has gone before, what has happened in prior arrangements, prior times, based on or using logic. The definition of logic, correct reasoning, or the science of what is expected by the working of cause and effect.
I don't know if you understood. I'm sure, I know you can understand and comprehend, but there's an underlying thing here that he's doing. It's very subtle, but I'm going to break it down for you. Number one, he makes sure that you understand that persuasion. He tells you, he gives you an inner window as to what he believes court cases are about. Court cases are one, but who can do a better job at persuading the other? Okay? And let me tell you why that's very significant, because narcissists are very good at persuasion. They don't get called con artists for no reason. They're not dangerous for no reason, because it works. In real life, it works. But they never really had the experience of performing their flair in a rigid court of law. And that's why they crumble. But they haven't experienced that yet. So he gives you an inner window of what he believes what wins court cases? Persuasion. And so in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, darling, I'm the king of persuasion. Do you know who I is? I am Mr. Yohn. Okay? Now, in the same sentence, he wants to make sure that you don't view this negatively, because he just told you what he thought is required to win a case. So he just exposed something that's not quite negative. But he makes sure that he tells you, oh, wait a minute. But to me, persuasion is negative. But I'm not negative. Because to persuade someone means to manipulate someone. That's negative. No. That's not what I meant, because that's gross. If you manipulate someone to do the crime that they did, that's just sick. That's just demented. Do you see the deflection? And this is what happens, let's say in real life, you remove the court setting. If you are in front of a person who does that, they show you a little bit of themselves, you blink a few times like, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of weird. And then they circle back around and say, oh, no, it's not what you think. And then you bring your guards back down again. Do you see how effective that is? He's doing a very good job at doing what he does best, which is lying, which is story spinning. And he is very systematic. He probably doesn't even realize that he's doing it. I'm just very good at picking on it. He is very systematic about the order of requests in his statement. No, I don't manipulate. No, persuasion means manipulation, but I don't manipulate. But I'm good at being a persuasive person. Pretty much what he said. You think you're slick, Bradley.
The working of cause and effect. Today and throughout this trial, you'll see that the cause does not hold the effect it should. The alleged cause does not hold the effect it should. I'm sure a lot of you are logical human beings. I myself base my life on being logical, being honest, being value to logic and honesty.
So right there, you could tell that he doesn't even believe it. And this right here tells me that he is an alleged, truly a narcissist. Because as he's trying to convey to you all these great qualities that he is, he's logical, he's honest, he doesn't lie, and blah, 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 he doesn't believe it. So he stumble, he stutter, he looks down. Narcissism is a personality disorder. It's a self-esteem disorder. He doesn't have the self-esteem to even tell you that he is... He's not logical. He knows it. They know their own truth. He knows he's not logical. He knows he's not that person. He knows it. But for that split moment, his inner child couldn't compute with the lies he was making. He couldn't even say that facing them to the eye. Started looking down. He wasn't really confident about it.
It's my favorite pastime, present and future. Today I ask that those of you here be logical, not just the jurors who have the ability to judge this situation, but everybody. Logical is I would rather people be. Today I will show you a lot of things that are not logical. Throughout this trial I will show you a lot of things that are not logical. Persuasion is not logical.
I understand, and I think I understand what he's trying to refer to right here. For example, because remember he said at the beginning, not all of it is true. Not all of it is false. Not all of it is true. I think he was referring to her death because she died a lot of days later. And so he's like, okay, maybe I did this, maybe I did that, but I didn't kill her. I think that's what he's going to argue, that she didn't die because of what I did. She died of something else. If I understand where this mind is going, it's going that way. And that's why he's so focused on logical. Like, there's no logic. I didn't stab her. I didn't do anything. She was alive and well for a lot of days. And then, I was doing my own thing. So I think he's trying to connect two dots here to try to get a lesser sentence. Oh, sir, you think you're slick.
I myself, personally, I promise not to attempt to persuade you. Nor will I manipulate you. I do not find pleasure in doing such. That's
the second time he brings up manipulation and persuasion. Listen, there's a tactic. Remember, if you go back, sympathy, right? More sympathy. He's gathering before he makes a request. The second time he brings this up. Okay.
Stated yesterday, I'm a pro se defendant. I'm held to the same standards as any attorney here today. I do not expect you to feel sorry for me because I'm a pro se defendant. I expect you to take it at what you value it as, along with agreeing with law, taking the law into consideration. They say an opening statement is made to acquaint the finder of facts with yourself or with the claims and what you intend to prove. That's exactly what I do today. Myself, I would say proof is a rare thing to come by these days. No one has absolute proof except for, per se, you have these cameras here in this room today, and I can prove that you are here today. There's a lot of claims placed forth that do not have an effect that coincides with them. I intend to show and prove you that today and throughout this trial. What I also want to prove you are blatant lies. Incredible and impossible happenings. We all know what incredible and impossible means. Impossible means not possible. Credible means it's not credible. I also intend to prove you improper procedure, coincidences. Throughout this trial, you'll see some of the most major coincidences you have ever seen in your lives. And they are established, and I'm sure some of the witnesses will attest to them. There are major coincidences in this case. As stated, I talked about logical. I intend to show you that these things do not follow the definition of logic. I will show you what coercion, manipulation, and deceit is. I will show certain persons think it is absolutely funny to be vindictive, to lie, to place forth claims, and that would be from the horse's mouth. I will prove to you reason for false testimony from some who may or may not testify throughout this adventure. I'll show you how other law enforcement think these events that are alleged to have happened are quite odd themselves, stating such in an indirect way. That is law enforcement, and I intend to prove that to you. I will show any of the claims and things placed forth by all here today, witnesses and the claimant herself, just do not add up or coincide with each other. The prosecution intends to prove to those of you that a 77-year-old woman has been brutally beat, battered, sexually assaulted is the proper pronunciation or the proper usage, term usage in trials. They intend to prove to you that a 77-year-old woman was home invaded, kidnapped, hijacked, thrown downstairs at 77 years old. Thrown downstairs. Some of you are young. If you were thrown downstairs, what would that damage do to you? Thrown downstairs in a violent manner. The prosecution intends to prove to you that a 77-year-old woman was thrown downstairs in a violent manner. All these claims are violent. They're sick. They're demented. All of these being brutal, violent, heinous. Those are the titles of alleged claims the judge has placed forth, as Ms. Keck has also stated, what I've just relayed to you, and more. Some of these descriptions you will hear throughout this trial. I aim to present to you, those of you here today, and I aim to present to those of you from the mouth who spoke them, these claims, and that they are not true. What's better than the person who spoke them? Attorney here, Mr. Jones and Ms. Keck, I believe they both have great intentions. I'm sure they do. However, they're here to attest to something they do not know themselves. They do not have full and 100% proof of. They're just doing their jobs. I don't expect you to hold it against them. I only expect you to be fair. I spoke of, at the beginning, this being very hard for me. Obviously it is. I'm the defendant here today. It's my life in jeopardy. It's my life on the line. Not only is it hard for me, I spoke of it being hard for Well, everybody here, I'm sure those of you in the jury today do not want to hear the sickening claims or have to go through this. All we can do is take what we have and place weight on it from our own views. Mainly you people here today, you jurors. Today you will be presented what some call evidence. Some of these presentations are very odd and would lead you to say, guilty, he's guilty. These are what I spoke of when I said I'd show you coincidences. Those coincidences are by far some of the biggest coincidences one will ever see in a lifetime, most never seeing such. Never having the chance to. Why? Because there are coincidences that are extremely rare. There are things that just don't happen. A believer of coincidences is what I intend to make you throughout this trial. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, devious crimes, they are what I myself would call the worst, the very worst. I think they're worse than murder. That's my point of view. As if they were true also. I do not mean to offend anyone here today. However, they simply are not true. My little brother used to run to mother and say, "Mom, BB hit me." BB was my sister. He used to say, "BB hit me." Mom would say, "Well, my lovely young man, where are the marks to prove such?" Well, Mom, show me the marks. He could not show any marks. Mother would say, "I can't tell where the marks are." True story. Come to find out, my brother only had the remote taken from him. Scooby-Doo was his favorite. He would watch it end on end for hours. During them times when my brother would make them claims, we would all come to find out in the end that he had just simply walked away from the TV. Sis picked up the remote and he wanted the TV back. The tells he was telling, you will see that today, here, and throughout this trial, there are major tales told. Tales that are tall. Simply very tall tales. Then, in reference to my brother, the lack of marks gave my mother reasonable doubt. Today, I intend to prove an extreme amount of reasonable doubt. Throughout this trial, I will prove extreme amount of reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt, they say, is any idea or condition that interferes with a person.
Grounds.
All right. The jury is left to find reasonable doubt on their own.
Sustained.
Jury, throughout this week, there will be all kinds of words placed forth, strong words, educated words, words some of us may not understand. There will be displays. There will be what many call evidence, and there will be testimonies. I will show you, and if you may, prove to you how things are not as they say, not as they seem, how most just are not possible, also known as impossible. As I stated earlier, I intend to be logical. I will do just that. I humbly ask that you bear with me throughout this process, bear with all of us, those of the court, those of the prosecution, and everybody. Recesses, intermissions, just please bear with us and be honest, as I'm sure you all can be, and be fair. Thank you.
Let's go to my final thought. There are two things I need your help with. The first one is, if you gotten this far, that means you like me, the video, the essence, the personality enough. So go ahead and press like. And if you haven't done so, subscribe. The second thing that I would like your help with, this monster, I'm going to cover him until he goes away. But I need a mascot. What picture are we going to insult him with? Okay, I'm thinking, yawning. What do you think? Let me know what you think should be his mascot. Because, honey, he's going to be on that stupid wall of shame, protected and looked after by Daddy Bailiff. This lunatic pretty much thinks that he's going to just say to everybody that it's just coincidence. From what I understand, he's prepping us to persuade us that whatever the prosecution is going to bring is just coincidental. It's just coincidence that his penis ended up where it ended up. It's just coincidence. Yeah. Just coincidence his DNA ended up where it ended up. It's just coincidence. It's just coincidence that the shoe print match. It's just coincidence. It's just a coincidence that you end up with her purse, her jewelry, and her watch on your hand. Absolutely. It's just coincidence. One of the reasons why it's so important, that whenever you deal with a narcissist, don't even try to reason. Don't do it. Just go. Ghost. Their condition and situation will only escalate. It never de-escalates. It never gets better. Grab your kids if you had kids and plan an escape. And you can tell when someone is a narcissist. You want to know how you can tell? They never apologize. They're never wrong. They always do nothing wrong. And in the process, you're the one being hurt all the time. How is it possible that all the time you're the one at fault? I'm not saying you're perfect. Maybe you're at fault. Maybe you are a raging bitch. But at the end of the day, you cannot be that all the freaking time. Right? There's no constant. I'm not a nice guy all the time. I'm not a bad guy all the time. There's no constant. If a person is not, it's constant. If a person constantly in their eyes is always a good guy and never did something wrong and never apologized and it's always your fault, that's a red flag, my loves. Grab your bags and get the F out. Yeah, because it always escalates. And this always brings me back to my experience with my dad. Yeah, of course it does. Oh, please. Trauma never leaves your body, okay? Like a therapist said, trauma never leaves. It's all about how you handle when it perks up and how you handle when it perks up. It never leaves you. So, yes, that's the gift that my father gave me. It gave me, the silver lining is I can smell those MF from 1,000 miles away. That's not even the point. I don't know why I even said that. I'm very distraught. Let's go to my Let's Talk. And if you're new here, Let's Talk is when I just put my hair down and start talking some more. Listen, this was actually quite a difficult video to do. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Let's Talk. I'll tell you exactly why. So when I saw this man, I didn't know that the crime he did was what he did. And as more I was looking at him and as more he was talking, I have a friend who died the same way. Her name is Michelle. Same way. It was in 2022. COVID restrictions were lifted. And very close friends. A very close friend. She lived by herself. There was nothing unusual. Her coworker found out. Her coworkers were like, "Where's Michelle?" Typical story. Call 911. The work calls 911. I'm sorry, the work calls the parent. The parent calls the daughter. Daughter doesn't pick up. You call 911. Do a health check, wealth check. Blah 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 blah. And we're all busy with our lives. I'm busy with our lives, so I don't check in with my friends like that. I mean, I'm on a schedule, so I can't call you every day. I can't call you every day. Maybe once a month you get a call. Next month you get a call. You know, like it's not like that. We're all busy with our lives. This is how I found out Michelle died. I found out she died from our friend Gisela. Gisela texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, Michelle is dead." I said, "What?" She's like, Michelle was murdered." I was like, "Girl, stop." What? Yeah, just like that. Home invasion. Brutally and violently sexually assaulted, and then her neck was snapped. As the perpetrator did what he did, he squeezed that thing a little too hard and then snapped it. That's how my friend Michelle died. Nothing was robbed. They thought it was an ex-boyfriend. No. They didn't catch the guy. Didn't catch the guy. So as I'm sitting there and I'm experiencing this, like it's hard not to connect a dot. It was very hard to separate. So I'm a little bit like I'm a little bit like that, right? I'm a little heavy in the chest. I'm heavy up here. It's heavy. It's taking everything I can to control to not outburst. But yeah. Well, you know what? Rest in peace, Michelle. That's it. I don't have any more emotional capabilities. I'm going to cut this video short. I'm done. Well, I see you. Oh, no. Wait. There's more. This video is scheduled to come out on Friday. So you see this on Friday. And Friday we have the live. So I see you at the live. What time? I'll tell you in the community post the time. Everything is pre-scheduled, pre-recorded. New channel. New channel. He beat her. Beat her. And by the way, Michelle and I were close. We were close. It's a friend. Of course. Can you imagine going to the daddy's girl? I will never forget that day. Never. She had a brother. She just went to her brother's wedding. It was COVID. So, it was a small wedding. We just recently talked. Gone. She went home after the wedding, go to work. There was no breach of entry on the door. They interviewed all the neighbors. They did the forensic everywhere. There was no breach entry on the door. They look at the cameras. I'm telling you, I don't know how they didn't catch this guy. Oh, you might ask yourself, DNA? I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't catch the guy. I can only ask so many questions, right? I can't ask that to the parents. All I know is that murder unsolved. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? I'm not going to go there and give suggestions. What am I going to say? Like, what am I going to say? The parents are already grieving enough. What am I going to say? Me too. I'm baffled. What do you mean? It's been a year now. But no, 2022, 2023. Fine, 2 years. It's been 2 years now. No suspect? Really? Anyway, goodbye. Oh, I'm exhausted. I need a nap. I can't even nap. I have a kid. So, goodbye. See you for the live on Friday. Oh, today. See you for the live today. Bye.